Hi, so this is My Left Foot Scene Analysis by Emily Pflug for the optional credit. So let's just get into it. So the topics I have for today are physiology, culture, and gender. So this first scene that we're looking at is the physiology. It's the money in the fireplace scene. So Christy was born with severe spastic cerebral palsy, which resulted in almost complete paralysis and a bad speech impairment. So this affected his central nervous system function. So cerebral palsy is a central nervous system motor disorder that inhabits the brain's ability to send messages to parts of the body that provide movement. So these primary motor areas of the cerebral cortex lie in the frontal lobes of the brain. Specifically, that part, the cerebral cortex and cerebellum, is affected. So that's responsible for the balance and coordinating movement. So, as discussed in Module 4 in the course, Dr. Ekman provided a system to code facial muscle movements during emotional experiences. He coded which muscles actually moved, showing that if you intentionally move the facial muscles that correspond to the specific emotion, your autonomic nervous system responds to those muscle movements. So, someone with cerebral palsy, such as Christy, their facial movements would not move in correlation to their emotion, but they're still able to feel that emotion normally and have emotional intelligence. So, specifically in the scene where he tries to tell his mother that her money is accidentally in the fireplace, his physiological response during the emotional experience is the same as a person without this disability, despite the fact that his physical body has troubles with motor function, and he has a hard time telling his mother about her money in the fire, but he can still feel that emotion nonetheless. This is also seen in the scene where his brothers are excited about Christy's plan to steal from the coal truck. Christy is seen shouting, screaming in happiness, and experiencing emotion along with his brothers despite his cerebral palsy. So the next theory we're looking at is the culture. This is the coal heist scene. So in the scene where Brown's family son successfully pulled off their heist of the coal truck, you can see that the two brothers are jumping up and down, screaming, yelling at happiness, and sharing in the excitement that their plan worked. It's also shown that Christy, who has cerebral palsy, is unable to move his body, but is still emotionally reacting to that situation. And he's sharing and mimicking his brother's excitement and happiness with them, and screaming and yelling in a similar way despite his physical body. So this scene demonstrates the theory of social constructivism and Keltner's theory that the role of emotion in culture. So Keltner proposed that the cycle of emotion is universal, but the emotional expression is impacted by culture. So this relates to the scene because in the 1930s, where this movie was set in, people with disabilities were often seen as nuances to society, and they were put in homes or asylums without any support or physiotherapy or nothing. So if Christy grew up without the support for his disability and if he wasn't treated as an equal by his family growing up in his cultural family, his emotional expression would be completely different today. And he would not be able to identify with his brother's emotions in a response to a situation. So the culture that he grew up in with his family really allowed him and gave Christy the confidence to emotionally develop like a person without a disability, and in turn emotionally and physically responds like one as well, despite his body not being able to move 100%. So the next scene we're looking at is the fireplace scene with the theory of gender. So in this scene where Bridget found their secret stash of money hidden away in the fireplace. So their mother states that she was saving up to buy Christy a wheelchair, but their father is furious about this and states the money should have been bought for the food that they need. So this scene is actually very interesting because it demonstrates the emotional differences between genders. So in Eisenberg and Miller's study on empathy, they state that women report more intense emotional experiences and have also been shown to be more empathetic than men. So this demonstrates that as a woman, Bridget is more sympathetic for Christy and his disability, that his disability is significant enough of emotional response to her to make her prioritize buying a wheelchair for him over that money for food. So sacrificing her money and the family's money in order to buy him a proper wheelchair instead of using a wood cart. While his father thinks this is a ridiculous idea to save money for Christy, while his family is scarce on food, he's not sympathetic towards Christy at all, and demands food is bought with the money instead of the wheelchair for Christy. So this really shows the differences in genders between men and women and the emotional response. So to summarize, Christy is a person with severe spastic cerebral palsy, but he exhibits emotional intelligence despite the condition affecting his facial muscles, which can be looked at through Ekman's data on our autonomic nervous system. This is also seen in where Christy mimics his brother's excitement, screams in the same way, is happy, demonstrates the theory of social constructivism, and the impact of culture on emotional expression. So in the 1930s, people with disabilities like Christy were also marginalized, but his supportive family culture allowed him to emotionally develop like any other person, placing highlight on Keltner's theory of the role of emotion in culture. So another scene highlights the emotional differences of genders, as Bridget, the mother, prioritizing a wheelchair for Christy, while the father insists on using the money for food. So this showcases Eisenberg and Miller's study on the empathy differences between men and women. And here's my bibliography. I've used several concepts from our lectures and scientific intellectuals' data to support my theories. So thank you for listening.